Hey, friends, welcome to the Connected Mom podcast. Sometimes I've heard from a lot of you that have special needs kiddos. And, in our own extended family, we have a special needs kiddo. And I'm really committed to them because I believe that God doesn't make mistakes and He creates everything beautiful and for His glory. And these kiddos, I think they have a very special place in God's heart. And so I want to welcome you to our conversation today. And as you know, here on the Connected Mom podcast, we like to have conversations that will help you connect more deeply with God, more empathetically with your fellow moms, because we really need each other, and more intentionally with your child. And so today, I'm really excited about this conversation because my guest today is Shari Bailey, and she and her husband, Michael, have created a whole line of products that will help special needs kiddos. And her story is extraordinary. And so before I tell too much of her story, I want to say welcome to her. And I kind of want her to tell her story because she's been a guest on ABC, NBC. She's been featured in People magazine. I mean, she's kind of a big deal. So we're really excited to have her today on our podcast. And for those of you that have kiddos with some of those special needs, I hope you're going to lean in and listen today. I hope you're going to find hope. And I hope you're going to share this with some of your friends who might be in the same boat as you. So welcome, Shari. It's delightful to have you here.
Oh my gosh, what a great introduction. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah. So, okay, tell us about your beautiful twin girls.
Yes, thank you. So, 11 years ago, I gave birth to Lana and Layla, and I'm in Maryland.
Love their names, by the way. They're
Thank
so
you. Thank
beautiful.
you. We decided to do L and L. We were up in the air about what we would choose, but we landed with Lana and Layla. Uh, and it was a fun time. I was pregnant with twins. I was excited. I got the twin beds and the bassinets and everything matching. And I was just ready for what was to come. Did not know that God had a different plan for me. And so I remember being at Johns Hopkins. My OBGYN at the time had suggested I go there just because he had saw a possibility of a heart defect with Layla in one of the sonograms that we did. So I just had that in mind, like, okay, let's just make sure she's tip top when I give birth. And we took the precautions, and then later found that she was diagnosed with Jacobson syndrome 4 months in after I gave birth to her. And
Okay, let me interrupt you there for a second because some of us have never heard of Jacobson syndrome. What is that, and how did you discover it in her?
yeah, great question. So, a little bit of facts around Jacobson syndrome. Back in 2014, which is when the girls were born, there were only about 100 cases in the world. So, yeah, Johns Hopkins was relentless in trying to figure out what was wrong with Layla. And 4 months into her NICU stay is when they realized it was Jacobson. Jacobson is a deletion of chromosome 11. It's predominantly associated with what many people call 11q, and it comes with very distinct characteristics. For instance, facial characteristics. Layla has a platelet dysfunction, as an example, which means she doesn't clot normally. Uh, it comes with congenital heart defects. It comes with breathing issues and respiratory challenges. It comes with swallowing issues. So at the time, these were very distinct things that her physicians had never seen before and never encountered before. And then we figured it out together. It was Jacobson syndrome. And she ended up being their first case study in Maryland.
How did you process that as her mama? I mean, that's a lot, Shari.
It is. It is a lot. And, you know, I'm sure I'm probably a few that has the story around Jacobson, but many that have many similar stories. And I think I described it earlier. I was really looking forward to the pregnancy. I was looking forward to going home in their little pink outfits and doing the little photo shoot and all the things that mommies and daddies just fantasize about. But I didn't get to take Layla home. I was able to take Lana home, but then I was traveling back and forth to Hopkins, which at the time was an hour away from my home because I had went just for the safety precautions. And here I am just nonstop back and forth on 95 and figuring out life and figuring out, will Layla survive? And it was a very, very scary moment. And I remember at my husband at the time, they sat us in a room and all the doctors came and we were all at a round table and they said, we figured it out. She has Jacobson syndrome. That's the reason she's on oxygen tanks. And that's the reason she can't swallow and she has a G tube. And that's the reason she just had about 8 surgeries, including heart surgery. And when they figured it out, unfortunately, it was time to go home. So here I am, new mom, about 5 months into being a mom. And I went home with oxygen tanks and a feeding machine and a breathing monitor. And I'm like, what just happened?
You must have been so anxious. I mean, if one of those machines failed, that would be life-threatening for her. And, like, and at the same time, you had her sister who needs to be fed and changed and cuddled and all the things. What how in the world?
I mean, lots of moms on this podcast listening, and just kind of to set the tone here, us moms love our children equally if we have more than one. And it was very difficult because here I am, to say what it is, breastfeeding one and not the other. And I felt like maybe I was giving too much to one and not the other. So there was this feeling of constant guilt. And then, just being there for Layla, and she had appointment after appointment. And to your point, in the middle of the night, her breathing machine would alarm if she stopped breathing. So that was just a nightmare to wake up to. And it happened several times. And it was just, it was a storm that I did not expect at the.
I cannot even imagine, Sherry. I also have twin grandsons and they were born during COVID. And I was over there, I think every day for the first year of their life and just helping, one of them came home on oxygen, the other did okay. And, just helping my daughter feed them both. And I mean, but I can't imagine doing that with such dramatic special needs with one of them. And, what did how did you sense God's presence during that? How did God show up in all of that, Sherry? Because people listening are thinking, man, that's bananas. And how did she survive?
I had a lot of conversations with God, you know, predominantly asking why. What did I do? I love Layla. I love Lana. This is not what I expected. What did I do? And, there were a lot of moments on my knees, literally on my knees, looking up, saying, just give me the strength to figure out what's next. This is my new norm. Just help me figure out what's next. At the time, I'm a working professional, I'm a new mom. I'm trying to balance life. You get what, 6 weeks maternity leave. So it's like getting right back in and then trying to figure out daycare for the girls. And I can't really just pass Layla on with oxygen tanks and feeding machines. How does this new norm look? And it was really me on my knees begging God, why? Help me understand why, and then help me understand what to do next.
Mm. I
And
love that you were on your knees though, because I think sometimes in churches we've taught people not to ask why. And yet, if you remember, Jesus on the cross said, my God, why have you forsaken me? And so, if Jesus can ask why, I'm pretty sure that means we can ask why. And so, I love that you were on your knees, just kind of wrestling it out with God. So, well done from my perspective.
Thank you. And I think you don't anticipate how you would react. We can all say, "Oh, in that situation, I would have done this, or I probably would have done that." But you really don't know until you're in that situation. And in that situation, I felt hopeless. I felt helpless. Just recall this is a very rare syndrome. And at the time, Google told us all that children don't make it past the age of 2 with Jacobson, most of them. And here I am, just a lot of thoughts racing through my mind. Will Lana become a single twin, a singleton as they call it, or will Layla survive? And what does that look like? And what would we expect? I remember that time at the round table, they sat us down, and one of the things they said after my husband at the time asked, "Well, what does that mean?" They said, "We don't know. It could be that she learns how to brush her teeth. Maybe she won't. I can't guarantee you she'll ever write a check." This is the stuff they said. And it was hard for me to even think that far, but here I am now 11 years in. Layla can't brush her teeth alone. She will likely never write a check, but I know why now.
Hmm. Tell us the why.
I that day on September 5th, 2014, I gave birth to my purpose alongside my girls. I became a mom, but I also became a caregiver, but did not realize that until about 5 years in. And one person asked me before, "Well, aren't moms just natural caregivers?" Absolutely. Absolutely. Us as moms and dads, right? We want to do the best for our children. We want to make sure that they're in good schools, that they have clothes on their back, that they have a roof over their head. All of these basic necessities us as parents provide. But to be a caregiver, it's a little different. It's wrestling with life and death on a regular basis. It's total isolation in some cases. It's the feeling of guilt in some cases. It's the feeling of, am I doing enough? It's the therapies, it's the learning how to be a doctor overnight, right? The medications, how to tell the signals. My daughter's nonverbal. So when she's sick, I have to interpret that and I have to figure it out and figure out, okay, maybe I should see the neurologist, or maybe I should see the orthopedic, or maybe I should see the cardiologist. So it's the sense of constant just connection that you have to have, which makes you a caregiver. And like I said, it comes with a whole set of other things. There's about 75 million caregivers in the US. And you would think that number is so large, but it's probably the most isolated community.
Mhm, mhm. So, okay, how did you find community in this? I mean, did you have people? Do you have people that have come alongside you and said, "Hey, we're in this journey with you"?
For the most part, yes. I have great friends, I have great family, but at the end of the day, everyone's busy, right? And everyone has their own things. And behind closed doors, you're met with the reality that you're kind of alone in this and you have to figure it out. And because Layla has a rare syndrome, because there aren't, an abundance of Jacobson syndrome groups across the country, it was something that we had to figure out almost alone, right? And when I say it was about year 5 that I realized I was a caregiver, that's when we realized that something needed to be done to connect families like ours. Through that, I learned there aren't enough resources, there aren't enough support services, there's not enough community, and there's also a stigma of even just talking about it. Some people I know don't even want to face publicly that they have a child with special needs. And I think that's mostly because the world doesn't understand it enough. And we shield ourselves and protect our babies as much as we can. So In 2022, my husband and I created a nonprofit called Layla's Gift. And it touches kind of what you mentioned earlier in the conversation, how our children are gifts. And the Laylas of the world are such gifts, and they come to teach something. And I always say, my daughter taught me patience. Global leader, I'm going back here, back and forth here, but there's nothing that's going to teach me patience than a child who is now 11 years old that has yet to say their first word. And nothing can teach you more patience than a child who takes their first steps at 6 years old and then decides, I'm going to walk on my own terms when I want to. So it's like between wheelchair and the day she decides she wants to walk. And, there's so much patience that Layla has taught me just being her mom and being, you know, just her caretaker. And that's something that is part of the whole why. And I don't take for granted. So my husband and I created Layla's Gift, and the objective really was to celebrate our families and change the narrative and break that stigma. And we started with throwing free birthday celebrations for children with special needs.
I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we took our personal model of celebrating every year like it could be Layla's last because of the stats that were against her. And we decided that we were going to bring that happiness to everyone else. And we started in the state of Maryland, and our mission touched about 1,500 families. And just this year, we went national. So now we take our celebrations across the country. But it's more than just the celebration, it's the community and the advocacy and the support that we're ultimately building and fostering to let families know whether they're raising a child with a common syndrome or a rare syndrome or undiagnosed, that they have a community that welcomes them regardless. They have the ability to build that community even if they don't feel like it's in their back door. And that's what Layla's Gift started.
Okay, so and then Lana connected with Layla. So are they identical or fraternal twins? Fraternal. Okay. So but the twin connection, whether they're identical or fraternal, is just so intriguing. I have discovered. Okay. And so they have a sense about each other, right? And so Lana found a way to connect with her sister, and I want you to tell us that story because I think that's intriguing.
Thank you. So let me set the stage. They are now 6 years old. Layla's not verbal, Lana is verbal. And although they're twins, they have yet to have that twin moment, right? Layla plays differently. Layla, in fact, her means of playing is pulling Lana's hair and Lana crying. So that was really kind of what that
That's a
was
thing
their interaction.
too. Yeah, I mean siblings, right?
Exactly, typical sibling rivalry. So here it is in 2020, COVID. I'm working remotely. I'm on a conference call, and Lana's writing stories. I told her, we got to balance electronics and creativity.
All
So,
the things, yeah.
yes, and you remember COVID had us all
Oh, yes, I do.
quarantined and tied to the electronics. So she's writing stories, and then apparently Layla crawled up while Lana took a break in the restroom, and she grabbed some crayons and started drawing what Lana till this day claims was a tree about the story she had wrote about a Christmas tree. And when Lana came back from the restroom, she looked and she started crying. She didn't even care I was on the phone. She ran up to me. She was just so ecstatic and screaming, "Mommy, mommy, she's playing with me. She's playing with me. You have to see, you have to see." So I excused myself from the call, and I went, and here Layla is just holding, and mind you, like mobility is very difficult for Layla. So the fact that she held a crayon and
Yeah,
she's just
I was
like,
thinking about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's just like doodling, and Lana believes is the tree, and she was like, Mommy, this is incredible. And she, the next day, came to me and said, Mommy, art brought Layla and I together, and I want to create something that helps people connect in this way. And mind you,
She's
she's 6 years
6.
old.
That's pretty profound.
She's 6 years old. She loves art, by the way, but she's 6 years old. And I think it was her feeling of, wow, Layla likes art too, even though she might be a little bit different than me. And it was that day. I said, so what do you want to do? And we sat down and we kind of, came together as a family. She was like, I want to write stories without the pictures, just like I did yesterday. And that's how Ziggleby's imagination book came about.
Okay, so tell us about Ziggleby's imagination book.
Yeah. So Ziggleby is the brand name, and Lana chose the name Ziggleby because she felt like
I love that. I love that she chose the name. I love the imagination of children. That's amazing.
they're incredible. Uh, and it's this bee that has a stinger, but in the shape of a pencil. And the idea is, creativity rules. So she chose the name Ziggleby because she feels like one, art is a way to express ourselves and connect. But then secondly, she felt like it was just the name of a cool bee that does things a little differently. Um, so that was how Ziggleby came about. And then the imagination book was where she wrote 5 stories, no pictures, just 5 stories. And the story pages are blank outside of the text, and children or whomever can just draw the pictures associated with the stories. And it started with the Ziggleby Imagination book. It got a lot of buzz, pun intended.
That's amazing.
Pun
Well
intended.
done.
But it was really birthed from Lana connecting with her nonverbal twin sister for the first time.
Wow. Wow. Now, how do the girls get along today?
Yeah, they're 11. They just turned 11 September, and I could not ask for more. I look at them and I see a mini caregiver in Lana. There are days where Lana will just grab Layla's feeding machine, and she actually told me once, she said, "Mommy, you relax today. I'm going to feed her today." I know. And she's like securing the feeding machine in Layla's tummy, and she knows how to turn the machine on. She's just so great with Layla. And Layla cannot adore her sister more. She loves Lana. Lana is her protector. Lana is her just, they have a twin bond, even though they don't talk to each other per se. There's this unbreakable bond that they have grown to develop. And it's just so beautiful to see how much Lana protects her sister and how much Layla just adores her sister and tries to mimic her sometimes too, which is really, really neat to see.
Yeah, that is so sweet. And, a lot of these special needs kiddos, I mean, it's a gift to the rest of the family because really everybody in the family then grows up with the awareness that this person is very special and has some special needs, but it's really a gift to every family. I have seen this firsthand, and I love that, because it's a gift. Now, okay, you are all very creative people, I have to say. I love that. And you created this device. Tell us about the device.
Yeah, so this is called Infomate, and it took my experience in global manufacturing. I've worked in medical device industries, and then my husband, Michael, who's done operations and retail. We developed this together, and it's really on the back of our experience with Layla, but also what we've seen directly in our nonprofit and also in the news. So, one of the big reasons we created this device is we thought about Layla as she gets older, if she continues to be nonverbal, but we want to gain her independence. How do we make sure that in times of crisis, she has the right tool to be able to communicate or for someone to help her? So, that was one of the things we thought about. And then, secondly, through our nonprofit, because we work with an array of children, some of which are on the autism spectrum, we've seen firsthand the dangers of elopement. which is when children wander or adults even wander. And the wandering could be due to sensory overload, it could be due to fear, it could be due to just being exploratory. But we've seen firsthand the dangers of it. In fact, our nonprofit last year celebrated the life of a 6-year-old boy who drowned following eloping. And it's really unfortunate. It's, to me, I consider it a national crisis. Every day there's another story of eloping gone fatal. And this is where we created the Infomate device. And Infomate is a water resistant band that has a QR code on it. And the QR code allows the caregiver or the wearer to create a profile. So, for instance, when Layla wears her band, when you scan the wristband, it would tell you that whatever information I loaded. So for her, it says Layla and then mom's emergency number and my name. It's completely voluntary. You can upload anything you want. You can upload documents, pictures, text, allergies, medication, what have you. It also is really neat because when it's scanned, the product owner receives a notification of the location, date, and time of the stamp of the scan. And then it's built with a discrete compartment on the face of it where you can pop in a Bluetooth tracker should you want to track the wristband as well. So it's a very minimalistic design, but very powerful. It's registered as a medical device with FDA because I do come from that background. So it's built with quality, but it's really around making sure that there's some safety mechanism that our families have that can support them, especially if they're at risk of wandering or in a case like Layla's nonverbal, right?
Yeah. I remember several years ago now, there was a family that moved into our neighborhood, and they had a child who was pretty severely on the spectrum, and he wandered off, and he didn't know his new address yet because they had just moved in. And honestly, it was really beautiful because the whole neighborhood got involved. Everybody went searching for him, and he was found, so it had a happy ending, but something like this would be so perfect for a child like that, especially like even if it has the tracking system in it, then parents can figure out, oh, they left, and where are they? And I think that's really a cool device that you guys have developed. Where can people get that device if they're listening and they have a child perhaps on the spectrum and they're like, I need that device for my child? Where can they get that, Sherry?
So the best place to go is ziggleby.com. That's our direct website, and you can get the device directly from there. But it's also available on Amazon, TikTok, Shopify, and coming soon to Walmart Marketplace as well.
Wow, that's so cool. And then the imagination book, where can they get that?
Yes, the website and also Amazon.
Okay, okay. Man, we are out of time, but I just think the products you've created, wow, the gift of creativity that God has given both you and your husband, and the faith journey you've been on, and the beauty of two sisters who just love each other, one with some severe disabilities, and yet the other so compassionate. What a gift your family is, Sherry. And I'm so thankful that you joined us today, because I think a lot of times moms of special needs kiddos can feel hopeless. So before we completely end, what would you say to the mom out there who just says, I don't have anything left. I just feel hopeless. What would you say to her today?
I was there. I still can be there at days. It never goes away, but just know that you are stronger than you think. And God gave you your beautiful gift because your child will shower you with so many things and so much knowledge and so much love that if you haven't felt it today, you will feel it soon.
That is such an encouragement. So, friends, I hope you heard that. No child is a mistake. They are all a gift from God. And if God has given you that child, that means that child is a gift to you. And God believes that you are the exact right mama for that child. And so we want you to know we're behind you. I hope you're going to check out ziggleby.com. There's lots of resources there. It's a very fun website, by the way. I checked it out myself. And you can get the imagination book there or on Amazon. You can get the watch. I forget what you called that,
The
Shari.
Infomate wristband. Yep.
The Infomate wristband, you can get that on Amazon. You can get it at Walmart soon. You can also get it at ziggleby.com. So check out these products. And hey, if you have friends that have a child who maybe is on the spectrum or who has other special needs, I want you to encourage them to listen to this episode today because we want our moms to walk away with hope. So, hey, we're cheering for you today here at the Connected Mom podcast. And we hope you're going to join us next week where we'll have another conversation to help you connect more deeply with God, more empathetically with your fellow moms, and more intentionally with your kiddo. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We'll catch you next time.